Today on FSI, we are going to be breaking down the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills from a betting perspective. Now, we're currently 33-13 in our official moves on Twitter, so make sure you're following that account. I'm your host, Tom Cross, and to my right is our analyst expert, Stephen Booth.
Thanks for tuning in this week. The Ravens are on the road as a 2-point underdog. They're plus 110 on the money line, and the Bills, they're minus 130.
The Bills being -3, now they're down to -2, and actually 1.5 at the wind is actually surprising. I figured they might be a little bit more of a favorite at -3.5 to start, but it seems like people are really scared of that Baltimore secondary and their run game. So I do feel like there will be some public money on the Ravens, but of course there may be some sharps on the Bills.
Both teams played in a one-possession game in their wild card matchup. The Ravens, they trailed about 10 points at the beginning of the game, but eventually won by a final score of 20-13. Now with the Bills, they had a 14-point lead in the beginning of the game, but let the Colts catch back up to just 3 points. Now both teams have a great ability to move the ball on offense, so it's going to be a very close game.
Quarterback Lamar Jackson has been stepping up. Now, early in the season, his offensive line was horrible, and that's why you saw the regression. It was not on him. He is still as dangerous and as elusive as ever. Now, he is a good pocket passer. I know he gets a lot of flack for not being that, but he is. You really got to look at the weapons around him. They are very weak, but he does the most he can do with what's around him. I do feel like he will have success, obviously, against the Bills because they're going to have to load up the box and go one-on-one on the outside. And I feel like Hollywood Brown may be able to beat some people as well as the tight end. So there is a strong possibility that Lamar will do good this weekend.
Josh Allen had a phenomenal game last week. He had over 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Now, I would think he will be challenged against this Baltimore defense because they're one of the best pass defenses in the league.
The Baltimore Ravens offensive line has been coached up and playing well. John Harbaugh has done an excellent job with these guys because in the beginning of the season, they were one of the worst in the league. And Lamar Jackson took all the flack, but really it was the big boys up front letting them down. Now, they are playing a Bills pass rush that is straight garbage. So I do give an advantage here to Baltimore because the Bills' inability to rush the passer is horrendous.
Josh Allen's pass protection was not great last week. They gave up 2 sacks, and one of those sacks could have changed the outcome of the game. Now, the Baltimore pass rush is very similar to the Colts, so I expect them to get plenty of pressure on this Bills offensive line.
For the Baltimore Ravens, the weakest part of their team is their wide receivers. These guys are straight garbage. Now, Hollywood Brown is obviously their #1 receiver, but really, he's a speedster and he's a #2 guy. Now, they got a strong tight end. Lamar does the best he can do with what he got, but at the end of the day, they're going to be facing a very talented Bills secondary. They got, obviously, White and LaMicah Hyde and Poyer, as well as Norman. So I got to give an advantage here to the Bills secondary.
The Baltimore Ravens have the 2nd best pass defense in the league. However, they are matched up against the best receiver this year, Stephon Diggs. He led the league in receiving, but I think they can match up with him quite well because they have multiple defensive backs that can defend him.
The Baltimore run game is the best in the league. They hit you in so many ways with Edwards, J.K. Dobbs, and Lamar Jackson. You don't know whether they're going to run it up the middle or they're going to kick it out to the outside. Also, Hollywood Brown is dangerous in the screen game. Now, the Bills, they have one of the weakest run defenses in the game, but their linebackers core is strong. Matt Milano is back, and obviously they have number 49 in the middle. So I do feel like they might be able to contain this Baltimore run game, but they're going to put way too many assets on the inside, and they're going to be vulnerable in the secondary because of this. I do feel like at the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens do have a strong possibility of having success in the run game, so advantage here for the Ravens.
The Bills do not rely on running for their offense, so I don't expect much from them from the ground. Now, the Baltimore run defense is pretty weak, so this could benefit them. They're giving up 4.6 yards per rush.
The Ravens are the stronger team. And the reason why is that what the Buffalo Bills are great at, the Baltimore Ravens are even better at. With Humphries, Peters, and obviously Jimmy Smith there at cornerback, it's going to be a very tough matchup for any of the wide receivers to get open. Also, I do not like the way that Josh Allen rolls out of the pocket and takes way too many chances downfield. Now, before the Bills scored at halftime against the Colts, he threw 2 interceptions, and they were bad. At the end of the day, it is very likely that Josh Allen is going to commit a turnover, and he choked at the end of the game against the Colts and fumbled and almost cost them the game. The Colts were the better team that day, but obviously the kicker and the coaching staff, Frank Wright, really messed up the game for Phillip Rivers, so I feel very bad for him. But at the end of the day, you're going to tell me who's going to give me a turnover? It's going to be Josh Allen, and it's going to be Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, or Humphries that comes up with an interception. Also, the linebacker core has looked very good for the Ravens as well. They're most likely going to have success running the ball, so I like the Ravens here in this matchup.
The Buffalo Bills have a great passing offense. However, the Ravens defense matches up perfectly against them. Now, on the defensive side, the Bills are giving up 4.6 yards per rush, which is the 6th worst in the league. I think the Ravens are going to run their offense effectively, so they even have a chance of winning up straight up. So taking the money line might be a great choice.
Now remember, we can't predict PEDs, injuries, the weather, or COVID-19 results, so make sure you follow our Twitter for our official moves. We're 33-13 there. Now that does it for us. Do me a favor and smash the like button and subscribe. Tell us who you can be taking in the comments below.
We don't care about favorite teams here. Our focus is on making you money. Follow social media on Twitter, Instagram, or our webpage. The links are below.